Hello, my name is Astar, and I have a lot of OCs. Toyhouse says I have 145 characters, but honestly, that's not even all of them. Those are just all the ones that I have, designs for. I still have a bunch floating around in my head, and some that I've just doodled some places, and I just didn't deem them worthy enough to be actually made into character profiles. But the point is, I just have a lot of these guys, so I thought I would share a few of them with you today. Arguably one of my first OCs is this half-tabaxi girl, Kimi. Originally, she was a D&D character who was a half-tabaxi sorceress, but the campaign that I made her for only lasted 2 sessions, and I still really liked her after that, so I decided to make her an OC. When I first started drawing her, since she was my old D&D character, she didn't really have a story. She was kind of just an adventurer who did adventurer things, and went to adventurer places. The development of her story really kick-started when I designed a different character, this funny bird guy named Darius. He didn't really have a story either, he kinda just was a doodle I did one day, so I just put them together and made them part of the same story. The original story was just about them two and this other mushroom character that I kinda nuked and also simultaneously turned into a different person, just kinda being adventurers. I've always had this really bad problem of I just make characters and I'm like, oh, you guys are so cute, I love you. Anyway, that's it. And I've never really make a proper story for them. I'm working on it, but that's kinda what these two were. But then middle school hit, and then COVID hit, and then I had a lot of free time on my hands. And with that time, I really thought about them and thought about their story, and I added a lot more characters to their story. Eventually, I ended up with the main cast of Kimi, Darius, Mushy, which was the mushroom character that doesn't exist anymore, Kunio and Akito, and Fumiko and Hinata. As you can probably tell, I was super into anime when I was in middle school. Now all their names have changed, but we'll get to that soon. The first characters I designed after the original 3 was actually Kunio and Akito. Kunio is a dragon shifter, and I had such an obsession with him. I completely pick favorites, and at the time, he was my favorite. Akito was his boyfriend, and honestly I feel bad because I gave him 0 personality and only ever drew him with Kunio. There was a running joke with myself, though. There's this one time where I drew him getting really mad that Kunio ate his fish, and then a few years later, I drew him with a women fear me, fish love me. Wait, no. Fish love me, women fear. Wait. The stupid fish hat. I drew him with that, and it's just been an ongoing joke that he really likes fishing. The other 2 characters that I made for their story were Fumiko and Hinata. Their design story is pretty interesting because I actually designed them based on sticks. I was camping with my family one day and I found these 2 interesting sticks. I thought one of them kind of looked like Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender's knife thingy, and I thought the other one kind of looked like a walking stick and also a gun. So I thought, you know, it would be so cool, a duo where one of them is blind and their walking stick can turn into a gun, and the other one has a knife. I actually had a lot of story for these 2 that I just kind of got rid of in the new version. Originally, Kimi was kind of like a criminal thief, and Fumiko and Hinata were kind of her little posse, but then they separated and found each other again, and they all joined up to become adventurers. Kunio and Akito had some lore too, but honestly their lore is pretty the same, so I'm gonna hold off on talking about them just for now. And that was the original squad. I drew them a lot over the years, but honestly, when I got to high school, they kind of fizzled out and I stopped drawing them in favor of my magical girls. But then in the summer of 2023, I decided I didn't want to make references for them so I could put them on Artfight. I love Artfight. Trust, when it gets to June, not even, when it gets to May, I'm going to be hardcore prepping. But in this reference, I kind of redesigned him a little bit, and I was like, oh, you know what if I just redesign all of them? Darius stayed largely the same, but the next person I redesigned after Darius was Fumiko, and she was overhauled. Her old design was very uninspired, generic shonen outfit, but in times when I draw her more recently, I made her super buff, and I gave her a bob, and honestly, I love that. So I was like, you know what? Since she's buff, what if I make her kind of inspired by a wrestler? Of course, I still wasn't very good at drawing body types at this time, so she doesn't look very buff, but trust, that will change, don't worry. Outfit-wise, it changed completely, and I added a lot of lace and a lot of frills and bows, because instead of kind of being based on Japan, now the area where their story takes place is based on Europe. And since this place is based on Europe, her name didn't really make sense anymore, so I changed it to Colette. After Colette, my next redesigned victim was Hinata. I had already been sketching some things before since I already knew I was going to redesign her, and in my sketches I kind of gave her this freaky eyeball, and I just thought it looked really cool and interesting and I could do some lore stuff with it. So in her redesign, I kind of just based it off of her having a freaky eye. Honestly, I think her design changed the most from her original, mostly because the only thing that's the same is that her hair is brown, and even then they're completely different shades of brown. For her outfit, I wanted it to be really cutesy and girly and whimsical, and honestly, I think I did a pretty good job for the first try. I think her design is the least changed out of all of them in the newest iteration. Her name is now Aveline, and I put a lot of research into her name, but I low-key forgot what that meaning was. Next on the chopping block Next on the chopping block is Kunio. Honestly, his design didn't change much, just his colors. I got rid of that fugly blue hair, and I also gave him normal clothes because, oh my god, I did not know how to draw men's fashion at all. Like, at all. What is this? Oh my god, it's so ugly. Ugly ass clothes aside, another thing I changed is I made him specifically a gold dragon. His name is now Hugo. I still love him, but he's been dethroned as the favorite in favor of Colette and Aveline. The next redesign was Kimi, and honestly, she didn't change that much either. She's still a fox girl, and she still has the red cape, but I kind of just embellished her outfit a little bit more. And also, I didn't change her name, because honestly, it's kind of too nostalgic to change for me. Also, in this lineup, you'll notice Mushy is still there. This is the last time you will ever see this character ever again. I was drawing them pretty consistently at that point, and honestly it got to a point where I kind of started to draw them more than my magical girls. But then at the beginning of this year, for reasons I'm not really going to get into in this video, I was going to use them for a bigger project, so I decided to tweak them a little bit. That project ended up falling through, but I still have their updated designs. Honestly, all of them stayed largely the same, I just tweaked their outfits a little bit. However, Darius was really giving me issues because I feel like he didn't fit in with the rest of the group, and I did not like his outfit and I really didn't know what to do with him. And then I realized he doesn't have any hobbies. All of my other characters have something that they do outside of adventuring, except for him, so I was like, huh. But then I realized, oh my god, wait, these are my characters. I can do whatever I want. So then I gave him an interest in astrology and slapped a bunch of stars on him, and bam, he's slightly better now. I'm still not entirely happy with him, but I am happier than I was before, so I will take what I can get. You might notice that a certain someone has been missing from these redesigns, and that is because I decided to make Akito, now named Victor, into a villain. One of the reasons I really stopped caring about these OCs so much the first time was because they honestly didn't have much of a story outside of just being adventurers. Sure, they had backstories, but that was all in the past. They weren't really doing anything currently. And then I thought, you know what they need? They need villains. So I took two pre-existing characters in their story and I swapped them and I made them villains. I want to make a separate video about the villains, so for now I might as well just get into a little bit of lore about these guys. Starting off with Kimi, the titular main character. Her story starts off with her grandma dying. She was in her grandma's care for all of her life, and her grandma didn't die of some dramatic disease or anything, she just kind of died of old age. So Kimi had to move out and find her own way in the world. She eventually found adventuring as a means of getting money, and in one of those adventures, she met Darius, by him falling out of the sky and falling on her. You see, Darius is a bird person, and in this world, bird people are elementals, and the bird people are the wind element, so they live in their own separate area of the world. For the bird people, that separate place is islands in the sky. And originally, Darius kind of just fell. No rhyme or reason to why he fell. But now, I decided that he was actually studying to be an astronomer. And in the tower where he was studying, there was a large explosion of magic that sent him flying off of the island. Kimi thankfully caught him before he was gravely injured, but his eye and half of his horn could not be recovered. The two spent some time adventuring together, but eventually the small adventures that they were going on just weren't enough money to survive, so they decided to team up with someone to take on a bigger adventure. The team they ended up teaming up with was Colette, Aveline, and Hugo. Colette and Hugo grew up together in the same town. Hugo was kind of just dropped on Colette's doorstep one day under mysterious pretenses, and Colette became his friend instantly. Colette is a fairy noble, but her identity is largely hidden by her family, because she is only half fairy. Her mother was a human who originally left her with her aunt at birth, but her aunt really couldn't take the responsibility of a child, so she ended up giving Colette to the care of her father. She has a very good relationship with her family. Her stepmother's really nice, and she has a little stepsister too, but she knows she can never inherit anything in the family, so she decides to take Hugo and go out adventuring together to explore the world and just see what else there is out there. And Colette actually still has a very good relationship with her aunt. Her aunt is a very famous fashion designer, and Colette herself does have a very strong interest in fashion. The reason why a lot of my characters have bows and lace on their design is actually because Colette made most of their clothes. When her and Hugo were adventuring, they ran into a very frazzled Aveline. See, Aveline had just recently escaped from a cult. There, they prepared her and many other children for this large ceremony that would happen. But on the day of the ceremony, one of the other children realized that this was not right, and things were very wrong in this cult. So he helped Aveline escape, unfortunately at the cost of his own life. The cult left Aveline with a freaky eye, and no real understanding of the outside world. So when Colette and Hugo found her, she was really bewildered. After that, they invited her to go adventuring with them, seeing as she had no money, and also no survival skills. Then the two adventuring groups meet, and that's where their story starts. Honestly, these OCs mean so much to me, and I love them so much, and I'm still developing their story. I think I'm gonna make another video about the villains sometime in the future, and also some side characters. But for now, I hope you enjoyed listening to me yap, and I just wanted to thank you guys so much for the support on my last video. Oh my god, 100 views on a first video is crazy, and I'm absolutely so grateful for everybody. But yeah, I'm gonna go eat something. I'm hungry. But tell me who is your favorite in the comments. Okay, bye bye!